Andy Lou, we are a week away from the NBA draft. How you doing, my brother?
I'm ready. I'm ready for the Warriors to give us another show during the NBA draft. I'm ready. Sir, how are you?
I'm good. I want to give a shout out to all the Ace fans for the reverse boycott last night. I'm really bummed I couldn't have been there, but I think they represented themselves very well. And we all saw the vote results with Nevada, but my general perspective is it's not over till it's over. And I'm going to keep that positive mindset going forward. So I just want to throw that love out there real quick. Anyway, we're a week away from the draft. And I think it's time to focus on the shenanigans, which is NBA silly season. What's interesting? It's been a minute since the Warriors have been kind of in the mix with rumors. Don't you feel like the last few years, it's just like, they're so low key. They don't do anything. They win a title. After the win title, they don't do anything. And now I feel like their name's going to start getting thrown around a little more. Maybe this is the Dunkirk era, the Dunleavy, Kirk Lacob era.
Don't do that. Dude, oh my God, the Dunkirk. It feels like this is the first time we've heard the Warriors in true rumors since Kuminga at 7, right? Remember, they felt like they were shopping the 7th or the 14th pick.
Right.
2 years. 2 years. And then before that was the Wiseman, the second pick. The Warriors were all over the place, trade back this, stuff like that, right? So, but I do have this sneaky feeling, Sam, that for the first time, maybe in Steph's career, that the Warriors are actually going to be looking at moving the pick. It never felt like they were going to trade down from 2, even though now we looking back, they should have. It never looked like they were going to trade the 7th pick or package that for something. Looking back, they probably should have. But now it feels like, I got to say, with a week to go, I don't feel like they're going to use that 19th pick. I would be shocked to see them use that 19th pick to select someone. So maybe something different from the Dunkirks.
The interesting thing with the Warriors is the tone around the team is just different to me right now. Like, usually they're kind of a chatty team, like a lot of gossip, a lot of whatever it may be, and a lot of like projecting confidence. And then, when the punch happened 9 months ago, 10 months ago, whenever it was, they kind of stopped talking as much. And now we don't even know who's quote unquote in charge. Like, obviously Joe Lacob's in charge, but they still haven't named a GM. I'm sorry. We're a week away from the draft and no one knows who is making the pick. I guess Bob Myers is, because his last day is until the 30th. But it's weird that they haven't named a successor. Again, Slater reported it and everyone around the team has been consistent with it. Probably going to be a Dunleavy, Kirk Lacob kind of type of thing, but they still haven't come out publicly and said it. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder why.
And it's just, it feels a little different than Warriors teams in past. And part of me wonders if they're trying to use it to their advantage. Like you're saying, like a little, like, let people guess what we want to do, because like we have a good team, but not a championship team, but we're close to being a championship team. And so it's in our best interest to kind of, play a little poker for once instead of keeping everything close to the chest.
I wonder, though, what is the strategic advantage to doing that? I mean, like, if you're another team, let's say you're Michael Winger, right, new GM of the Wizards, and you're looking at Terry. We're hearing Beal rumors again for the 80th time. I feel like someone like him who's been in the league every freaking other hour. He's been in the league for 20, 30 years. Like, he knows who to call. He knows what decision maker to reach out to if something needs to get done. So I'm not sure what the advantage is there. Maybe they're trying to throw the projection out there that they're kind of in disarray. Maybe something like that, I got the feeling that they're not really like. I got the feeling that it's business as usual for them. I don't think much has changed. It feels like that. Doesn't feel like behind the scenes right now. Kirk Lakeup and Dunleavy are trying to figure out what to do because Bob isn't there, right? Like it doesn't feel like that's the type of.
Wait, who's on our team?
Yeah.
Best player? Yeah, exactly.
It's like, do you think they're having a discussion right now that it's like, oh, what is the value of Jordan Poole? Like they know that. Like they know that. What is the value of Kuminga now? Someone that maybe we need to talk about here. But yeah,
let's talk there. So, week away from the draft, Jonathan Givony, Draft Express reports in his mock draft. One, he says the Warriors are going to take Jet Howard. That's Juwan Howard's son. Blah blah blah. Wow. He's been kind of in the mix of potential names. Classic player that you will like, who will not see the floor for 2 years. But the last line of his Warriors segment is the interesting one. Sources tell ESPN Warriors are also exploring the option of acquiring a high draft pick in exchange for a young prospect such as Jonathan Kuminga. So potentially shopping Kuminga to move up in the draft. It's a little tasty nugget there. What's your first impression?
That's a shocker to me. Yeah, my initial. I mean, I woke up and I heard he gotten 15 texts from you about this, so I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" Kind of blew my mind though, Sam. I'm sure you have a more nuanced take than me, but to me, it blew my mind. It blows my mind that the first look at this is that the Warriors are coming in the draft and saying we're going to trade the kid that's super raw, very talented, 20 years old, and we're going to try to trade him and the 19th pick for a higher pick to draft someone presumably super talented and probably pretty raw. First thought.
My first thought is they're pulling a Leo DiCaprio. It's time. Gotta get younger. No.
I get older, but they stay the same.
All right. Someone connected said to me, and it's always stuck in my head.
Sam sources.
If there's ever a leak regarding a trade, free agency, or interest, just assume the most cynical possible outcome, and you figured out who's putting it out there. Because none of this shit gets to the surface unless it's someone trying to manipulate public perception. So with that said, I'm sitting here going, who benefits from that publicly being put out there? Is it the Warriors? Does it benefit the Warriors to put out noise that, hey guys, Kuminga could have him for a top 10 pick, Or does this benefit Jonathan Kuminga's agent, who's trying to get his client somewhere he can get 30 minutes a game so he can get $100 million?
Fair enough.
I don't know. I can make the case for both. But when I read a leak like that, knowing how newsbreakers and everything work, part of me is cynically thinking whose position, you're a succession guy. How does this help my position? Who's the person who's benefiting most from something like this coming out?
I don't imagine it helping Kuminga. I just, if he wanted to be out of there, I would assume he'd back or just tell our guys Dunkirk, the duo, the fantastic duo over there that he wants out. Don't know how it would help. Yeah, I don't know how it would help them. Maybe it helped the Warriors because teams read that, because teams read everything. And maybe the 7th pick goes, oh shit, we were talking to the Warriors, and maybe the team that has the 9th pick comes in and says, okay, here's our offer, right? Maybe we like Kuminga. Maybe we want to move back to 19 and we want to take Kuminga, type of thing. The other thing, maybe we take it as face value. Maybe the Warriors do want to get off Kuminga.
Why would the Warriors want to get off Kuminga? Let's just talk through it. What, like, if you're the Warriors, because I can think of a couple of reasons, but why would you want to move off of Kuminga today? I think he had, all in all, a solid second year with a very disappointing end to the year in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the first reason would be that he doesn't fit the team, right? Whatever that means. But at least he doesn't fit the team within the next 3 years. So let's assume Steph Draymond's back the next 3 years, and Klay Thompson. I think Klay's going to sign an extension for a lot less money. So let's say you've got those 3 guys for the next 3-4 years. He doesn't fit the team because he wants to be the guy. We've had this discussion many times. He wants to have the ball in his hands. He wants to score 20 points, however inefficiently he wants to do it. He wants to be able to make $100 million on his next contract. He'll figure out the rest later. Kind of like Andrew Wiggins, kind of like Aaron Gordon, 2 guys that we've seen now become championship role players. But first, they've had to fail as the first option. The second option is maybe the Warriors just don't want to pay a guy. Maybe they just want to reset the clock.
That's the one. So I think the two go hand in hand, and I think it's important to think about that. He's entering year 3. Rookie deals are 4 years. You kind of have to know by the middle of this upcoming season, is this our starting 4, 3, whatever it may be, from 25 to 2025, 2030? Is this our guy, or do we want to go in a different direction? Like we saw with Wiseman. I'm not convinced they wouldn't have just kept the Wiseman experiment going if he didn't just start getting expensive. And they're sitting here going, all right, let's be honest. It's going to probably still be 2 more years till he can probably be useful. And it's going to cost us another, $25 million times 5 with the tax to even figure it out. Meanwhile, there's no minutes for him. Like you just start doing all these things. And you're sitting here going, might as well just move him because it's illogical. And unlike Wiseman, Kuminga has actually proven he could give you like 20 regular season minutes, maybe 50, like on a consistent basis. But everything is under the veil of like, by the time he gets to the end of the rookie contract, you're going to have to give him a lot of money or you're going to lose him for nothing. So you better feel very good that this is one of your guys, and maybe getting ahead of it, maybe being like, maybe we can take advantage of a team. Maybe everyone thinking Steve Kerr's an idiot works to our advantage, like maybe people thinking the Warriors are bad at development and we, maybe we can get ahead of them and that sort of thing. Like to me, I think the thing I like about it is I'd rather see them explore everything and then rather than be closed-minded because they're not good enough to be closed-minded right now.
If I told you that they could trade that pick and get a Thompson twin at 20 years old, and how old is Kuminga? About the same age, right? It's not like Kuminga's 23 years old. Maybe you're another team. You're like, well, I'd like him more, and we can get the 19th overall pick. And if you're the Warriors, you don't got to pay a Thompson. You don't got to pay Osar or Amen. Hopefully I'm saying those names right. For another 4 years. I mean, I could see that. I can see that it's a little.
If they end up with a Thompson twin, I'm gonna be so upset.
I don't know anything about them. You're not a fan. They seem like Kuminga. They seem like new Kuminga.
Just of the prospects in the top, they seem among the rawest. It'd be another great prospect for a bunch of 18-year-olds to start yelling at us that we hate kids, that sort of thing.
Why don't they just draft Chris Murray? He's old, and just he like his brother. He could probably shoot a little bit. I assume he plays exactly the same. Just get him.
Just not as good.
There is another option. There is another option, and you mentioned this with the. You mentioned this morning. You mentioned another option with the why they're doing this. There is a way that they move these things for or in a blockbuster trade, right? Do you think that's possible?
I do. I mean, I think if you look at the Wiseman trade, they wanted to trade Wiseman for a player who could help them now. Nobody who had players who could help them now wanted James Wiseman. So they had to get creative with it. They had, our friend Mike Dunleavy had to call up Detroit, get Sadiq Bey, trade Sadiq. He had to call up our friend Grant Liffman, get Sadiq Bey to Atlanta, get some picks. And then with those picks, he was able to get Gary Payton II. And obviously GP2 had an injury and whatever. Ignore all that. The point is, there are some teams who would rather, like if you're talking about making a trade for a star, or let's just say a solid veteran, an OG Anunoby. Like, is OG a star? No, but OG's a damn good player that everyone wants, right? Maybe Masai values the 10th pick over Kuminga. Like, those are the type of things that, like, maybe that's going into it. And maybe the Warriors are just doing this exercise to see if they can read people's hands, to see like, oh, is this more interesting to you? Or is this more interesting to you? Because it doesn't really matter to us. We're just trying to get to that guy, like that sort of thing. And I think we're going to get, quite frankly, like, the draft's a week away. We're going to get a lot of this till then. And then from the draft until free agency, which is a week or 10 days after that, like, it's gonna get very loud. And I don't know where the Warriors going to land with this, but I think they're going to be in the mix big time. A lot of this stuff coming out.
I can't imagine them standing pat anymore. And you just brought up the trade deadline, which I think is a great point. The Warriors are so used to standing pat at trade deadlines. They're so used to standing pat during the NBA draft. Even in free agency, I mean, the KD thing, sure, everybody would do that. But just they're reticent to, I think, always making a big splashy move, because most of the time those moves don't work. But
I mean, right? And now that the Bob era is over, we could be straight. Bob's pragmatic. It works for him. They didn't make moves unless there were home runs, and then he trusted his ability to, like, cultivate something internally. I don't know that Dunleavy and Kirk operate that way. Like, you assume it's going to be business as usual, but it might not. Maybe Dunleavy is a little more aggressive. Like, anyone who says they know is lying to you. Like, you can know what type of players he likes and what he values, but you don't know until the man is in the hot seat. Is he going to be the guy who's closing deals all the time, or is he going to be the guy who passes on deals and trusts building other ways? Because, like, Bob made 3 trades that mattered in his 10 years, and that's all it took. I got Iguodala, I got KD, I got Wiggins. 4. Do our Klay Thompson 1. Yeah. That's like his thing, right? That doesn't mean everyone's going to do business that way. That's not the only way to be successful. That's just the way he did it,
Also, it doesn't mean that that's the best path forward for the Warriors at this point, because they are in a different stage where they may need to take a different type of home run swing with Jordan Poole's contract. Now, it gets a little weird because you do hear that Mike Dunleavy is the guy that was there drafting Jordan Poole. So maybe he's got an affinity for him, right? That type of stuff. And so now we're just kind of guessing, but I would imagine that
a lot of balls in the air.
I just can't see them using that 19th pick, man. But I also can't see them trading up and using that pick to draft. I mean, I'm looking at the draft board. I'm like, what are they going to draft?
Anthony Black. That's my guy.
Okay.
That's I'll put it this way. That's an Andy Liu player. That's the comps are just Livingston, Tyrese Halliburton, Iguodala, just that type of player. Santa Cruz is going to love the way he connects, Lester Quinones and he's a one and done. But, like, I would bet every dollar he's a winning player on someone's team in the future.
Wow.
But anyway.
Wow. So you take him over. I mean, look, there's the Derek Lively here. I've been reading up a little, like a raw center. Sounds like some Warriors want. So I
will be passing on that one.
Yeah. just it will be a little shocking if the Warriors trade up guy that they invested 2 years of development into for another guy that they start back at
square one. Yeah,
especially in the twilight years of Steph. Now that Steph has essentially come out, which he has never done, to say, like, hey, we want to run this back. Running this back doesn't mean we're running back to 2 timelines. You know what I mean? It's not what he's trying to run back.
And, like, my whole thing is, like, I'll try to be more open-minded. Like, I don't care if they make a draft pick. What I care about is, like, I can't have 5 guys on the roster under 21. 3's okay, But, like, so if you're going to make the pick, but then maybe you're going to trade Kuminga and Rollins for someone who can help you now, like, that's fine by me,
Okay.
You kind of have to balance both things. Like, you can't have a roster of all guys over 30, and you can't have a roster of all guys under 21, So, like, I'm not going to be mad in one way or another, but, like, all of it matters just in the context of, like, getting to the final roster, right? How old is someone in the chat goes, how old is Anthony Lamb? He's the correct age. No, he's 25.
It is a little from a roster construction perspective, they need to figure the Jordan Poole stuff out. It is just that's deep, and I say this every show, and I think that's now that we're a week away. They've got to figure that out. They've got to. They can't run it back with him bitching and moaning on the bench. They just can't.
Maybe they can. What if
maybe they will, right? Maybe they will, but
what if I told you I think they can't run it back with Poole and Kuminga? If one of them is moved for an adult, now you're talking about a rotation with just one dude who's got to get it, who's got to kind of grow.
See, here's my problem.
Yeah. Let me finish my thought. My thought here is, I feel like the kids outnumbered the adults this year. You ever been to like a daycare where like there's like too many kids? That's what it felt like. You got to get the ratio back. So, they understand. You speak out, Draymond's coming. No. But like, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, sorry for cutting you off. What were you saying?
I disagree. I think it has to be Poole because he's the one that wants to close. He's the one that's paid, and he's the one that shouldn't close. Like I can see Kuminga developing into someone that can close for the Warriors. He could be a two-way threat. Dude's a monster on defense. Could be a monster on defense. Say the shot keeps getting better, right? We talked about that.
In theory, he can rebound.
In theory. But you look at Jordan Poole, it's like I get how good he is and how good he can be, but you're not closing. We can't have Steph and Poole and Clay closing together. It's not
position.
happening.
It's a position issue.
Really? Yeah, really. And a lot of this isn't about Jordan, but it is because he wants to start. He wants to close, which is fair.
What if Clay needs to grow up and learn to rebound?
The guy that's 33, at this point, I think is probably not going to change too much.
Claybrook? No.
I think it's probably not changing too much. And then I think that's why what they've got to figure out. And also, I think if you're trading one or the other, maybe if you're a younger franchise, you probably are okay taking a chance. Like he's more of the known value, right? You could probably say I'm getting a 22-year-old, 23-year-old kid that can average 20 points. Like it's not. Maybe he has more. Do you think he has more value? I feel like he has more value.
Kuminga has more value, in my opinion. And my logic is, he hasn't been paid, so the team acquiring him is like, we're going to give him run, and then we can sign him to the contract we want to sign him to. This is 6'7", like top 1% athlete, can do all these things. Like, yes, he's not finished product, but like those guys are hard to find, right? Like it's just reality. I think he's probably more attractive in a trade than Jordan Poole, who got a big contract and quite frankly played his worst basketball leading into it, right? Like you're not, I think Jordan's significantly better than what he showed in the playoffs, but what he showed in the playoffs is the last thing anyone saw. So it doesn't matter what he did the playoffs before. What matters is this one, he sucked. So I think it's fair. All right, let's get to the Wizards a little bit. I think you're bringing up the other side of this, which like ultimately, look, would it shock me if the Warriors wanted to add another kid? No, they seem to love doing that stuff. But I think the bigger thing is I feel like they're trying to wheel and deal and see what's out there for them, right? Like at a high level. And you mentioned the Wizards and Michael Winger. And we got a little news today. Friend of the show, Shams Charania, reporting that the Wizards are looking to move Bradley Beal. Finally. How many episodes have we done about Bradley Beal?
I'm tired of Bradley Beal.
10?
No, way more. 25.
Do you think you've podcasted for over a full day's worth of content about Bradley Beal?
I've talked myself on Bradley Beal. I've talked myself out on Bradley Beal. I've hedged on Bradley Beal. I've had every possible take about Bradley Beal. Is he finally gone? Is he truly finally gone, Samuel?
The way it's being reported, there's it seems like he's gone. New management in town. They want to do the teardown that the Wizards should have done 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10, like literally my whole lifetime. They need to do this. And I'll tell you what's interesting about this whole thing. Windhorst reporting that he thinks Bradley Beal is going to be moved for very low value. I'm going to share this tweet right now with our friends in the chat. Goes, if Bradley Beal gets traded between now and next Thursday, I think people are going to be very surprised at the price, potentially how low it's going to be, because that contract is not attractive. To put it into context, he is owed Steph Curry money for the next 4 years.
Disgusting.
And I think you, me, the chat, the listeners, everyone is in agreement. He is not Steph Curry.
Disgusting. Disgusting. Horrifying. Terrifying contract that Bradley Beal is on. It makes a lot of sense that Bradley Beal waited and never asked out because he just wanted to get paid. He just wanted to get paid the maximum amount that he could from the Wizards.
And he has a no trade clause, so he can kind of screw at the Wizards to lower the price.
The Wizards are a joke.
Well, that's what I mean. Winger didn't sign these things, so
right.
Like, I don't know if he's going to be a great executive or not. But like, he's walking into the office day one, and he's just walking around the office being like, "What is this? I got to get out of this. I gotta move on." So.
I'd imagine he took the job understanding that, hey, I'm going to get a couple years of grace because I got to get rid of these contracts, right?
I imagine he negotiated a 5 to 7 year contract because he's looking at this and going, brother, we're in seed round right now. We're not even serious. It's early.
No, man, they got a couple of they don't even have the idea seed round. They don't even have an idea of what they want to do.
They're holding ideation sessions.
What is the value proposition of the Washington Wizards right now? What are we doing here? Do you think the Wizards? I mean, sorry, the Wizards. Do you think the Warriors should explore the Bradley Beal?
All right, I have a trade for you.
Oh my goodness!
Would you trade Klay Thompson and Jonathan Kuminga or Moses Moody for Bradley Beal? Because I think that's about as good a trade as they're going to get. Klay Thompson represents an expiring contract. In other words, saving them hundreds of millions of dollars. And they get a young prospect, who's good, for them to explore. Would you, if you're Joe Lacob or Kirk Lacob or Mike Dunleavy or Kent Lacob or any other Lacob, want to do that trade?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't, just because people who listen to the Light Years podcast know me very well. I don't. I'm gonna hang on to the winning vets to my last dying breath. No matter what, I will keep them. Just on that, I wouldn't want to trade Klay Thompson, other than the fact that Klay Thompson might still be a better player at this age. The second part is, now you've got Beal's contract on the books. Right. So now you've got Beal's contract and Poole's contract on the books. And then you trade your best trade chip, in your opinion, and Jonathan Kuminga to get a guy, number 3, who we have no idea is actually a winning player or not. So, no, I wouldn't do that trade. Now, if you were to ask me, Jordan Poole and Kuminga, maybe. But no, definitely not Klay and Kuminga. Would you?
No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it because that contract sucks. I think let's put it this way. Klay's not a $40+ million player. I'll be the first to say that. But I think you're going to be able to re-sign him at a number that's actually value positive going forward. And I don't really care what any player makes, in the sense of, like, it's not my money. I don't care. What I care about is, does it restrict the Warriors' ability to build a roster? That's what I care about, right? And I think the Warriors it's going to be a tough offseason this summer because of the money they've promised to Klay and to other players. But they're like a summer away from actually getting the books in a pretty reasonable spot to be able to add talent to the team. Why would you ruin that by bringing in Bradley Beal, who?
No. Like Bradley Beal, like that's a good That's a good, like Houston Rockets are a good target, right? Like you get Beal and Harden, so you get two guys who don't give a shit about winning, but they can both average 30 points. They can live in the city of Houston. It's great. Like that is a perfect scenario. Perfect scenario.
And let me take you a step further. I actually think this player would be good for the Warriors, but let's say you bring in Siakam, and let's say it doesn't work. He's a free agent. You can move in a different direction. You bring in Bradley Beal and it doesn't work. It's a lot of Bradley Beal you're holding on to for the next 4 years, So it's like at least with like other trade options, you have a kind of like try it before you buy it period. And I don't know how much that matters, but like when you're getting like, if you bring in Bradley Beal and it doesn't work, and they're just like the nice version of Dame and CJ, and you're stuck for a long time, like you're screwed. You're screwed. It's over. You're not getting out of it. Steph's going to just become late career Kobe, doing like retirement tours, shooting 30-footers in losses. Like no one wants to watch that.
I'd watch it.
I mean, I would, but like that's not the future I'm hoping for, right? Like I think the guy has at least 3 years in him. So,
correct.
I'm saying no. Now there is another Wizards player who was in the rumors today. So everyone assumes the Wizards are going to tear it down and move towards a rebuild. And there's another guy in the Wizards who is in the news here today too. So Keith Smith, noted cap reporter, does stuff from Sportac and some other sources, notes today something that's picking up more and more buzz. Kristaps Porzingis opting in to his $36 million with the Wizards. Under the old free agent front office, the assumption was Porzingis would opt out, re-sign for a long-term deal with the Wizards. He may now just take the money and hit free agency. And let me just add to this. If he opted out, the Warriors would have no avenue to acquire him. They can't really do a sign and trade. He's a free agent. They can only throw a minimum. He's definitely better than a minimum player. If he opts in, they could do a trade because he's on the last year of his contract, and then they can extend him. So players who are opting into the last year, such as him, Siakam, OG, those type of guys, those are legit trade targets you can consider. And given what we know about the Wizards, which is they're going into a rebuild mode, does someone like a Porzingis, who, it's a lot of money, $36 million for Porzingis, but he's a free agent, you could re-sign him at a figure that's a little better. Does something like that excite you?
Now we're talking ball. Now it feels like we're talking ball. I don't know how good he is. Like, I'm not going to lie to you and say I watch Washington Wizards games. Maybe we'll get the Andrew Sharp guest appearance here in the next week if this trade does happen. But theoretically, he fits. He's a great three-point shooter for his size. The Warriors are missing a stretch center now. Are they missing like a stretch center that's a starter? Maybe not. Maybe they just kind of need one that's a rotation player, but he's definitely good enough to be a all-star-ish type, think Andrew Wiggins kind of before he went to the Warriors type of guy. How good is he on defense, Sam? I don't know. You tell me. How good is he on defense? But theoretically, that's someone that can close. Yeah, right. He has a beard now, so maybe he's a little more rugged than what he used to be coming into the league. I know he had a really good last season, but I think theoretically you can close with Kristaps Porzingis, right? You can put him next to Draymond Green and say, now that's a guy that you can't play 3-on-5 anymore against Steph. The other question, though, is who are you going to trade? Wow, look at that. You literally read my mind. So in this scenario, you're saying the Warriors would be coming off Jordan Poole, which, maybe is a guy that they build around along with the Wizards, right? Whoever they draft, right? Maybe that's their next Bradley Beal. But you also threw in Kuminga for 1 year of Kristaps Porzingis, which I think is interesting. So that's a lot, I think.
It's an expensive trade, but hear me out on this one. Okay. You're getting you would only do this if you're the Warriors, if you could get Kristaps for 4 to 5 years. He's 27 years old. He'll be 28 next season. In theory, you're getting him from age 28 to 32, which is the sweet spot of any player's career. That's a Wiggins range. You only do this if you've worked out an extension for him.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe picks are involved, something like that. Honestly, I don't know how I feel, quite frankly, by this, but like it works money wise, and it's a logical starting point for a trade. I think it's interesting because he's not the perfect 4 or 5 for the Warriors. Like he's more of a drop big, like he's huge. He can block shots, but like he's not going on the perimeter dancing, right? That sort of thing. But offensively, come on, man. I mean, he can shoot from everywhere. Good enough passer to play with the Warriors. He's also at the right stage in his career to play with the Warriors system. People are saying PBJ in the chat, like you hope PBJ gets this level over time. I think the Warriors starting 5 with Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, and Porzingis would be unguardable. Literally unguardable. Like it's better than with Otto. And, you would need to fill out your bench. You'd need to figure some things out. But I think if you were under the impression you could re-sign him at a number below that one and kind of so it makes it easier for you to keep Clay and Draymond and all that stuff going forward, it's kind of interesting. Kind of interesting to me.
Another thing about him, and Karima brings this out in the chat. She says he just doesn't stay healthy, which is true. Just true. Played 65 games last season, which is actually a healthy season for him. Before that, he hadn't played more games than that since the first 2 seasons of his career, 72 and 66. So he's had a lot of injuries, but maybe you're gambling on him kind of like figuring out his body, figuring out the NBA grind and saying like, hey, he's going to be ready to play 65 to 70 games from here on forward, right? Maybe he just kind of wasn't ready for the NBA at that young of an age. But again, like you're saying, assuming that he is as good, I mean, he shot 38.5% from 3. He's a 36% shooter, 3-point shooter for his career. But last year he was really good.
He also mid-range, post up, like he can shoot from. It's like Kevin Durant, where you can't look at the percentage. And obviously, not that good a shooter, but like he can shoot from everywhere on the court, right? Like, and I think that matters more in the playoffs than we give it credit for. Like, part of the Steph Clay value proposition is like, okay, you ran them off the 3-point line. They'll hit the mid-range. They'll do everything, right? Your ability to shoot from every spot in the court matters.
Steph has said that the Warriors didn't have enough counters, which, I mean, you can imagine what that means. It basically means I'm the only one that can fucking score at all 3 levels on this team. The pushback that I have on this trade, I think, which is, I mean, I'd be sitting here if this happened next Thursday, I'd be clapping all smiles, right? If this happened, I'd be pretty happy. But the only thing I'd be a little hesitant on is I think when you're looking at packaging Jordan Poole and Kuminga and picks, I want someone that's a little bit more proven, and that's why Pascal Siakam's name keeps coming up. Again, he's like the North Star. I think like that's, if you're a Warriors fan, that's who you want. He might not even be on the trade market knowing Masai Ujiri, but at least we know Pascal Siakam is a proven monster in the postseason. Whereas with Porzingis, it's the same thing with Wiggins. Like, is he gonna be good?
Isn't that why it feels more attainable? Because like Wiggins, yes. It feels like you're buying. I know you're buying a top 5 pick who hasn't lived up, but like there's talent there. Like that's the Steve Kerr sweet spot right there.
It is, and I mean it is the winning player sweet spot. I mean, not even like Aaron Gordon. Denver Nuggets just won a championship. They got Aaron Gordon, and he's. I mean, you could argue the 3rd best player on that team. He's better than Michael Porter Jr., right? He's definitely not better than the top 2 guys, but 3rd best player.
I mean, he did what Wiggins did. He took advantage of
literally exact
their stars. Okay, all right, we're gonna do anything but let Jamal cook us. And he's like, all right, I'll get 25. I got you. So.
I would be happy if the Warriors make this trade, but I would have concerns. I mean, I can't imagine that you don't have concerns going to this. But do you think the Warriors are asking around about Porzingis, though? Like, seriously asking, not just like, oh, I'm just making calls. Like, do you think they're actually like, Like, let's really debate about this Porzingis thing, because he is that type of softer big man that, maybe Draymond Green doesn't like so much. Like a Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, he's not offensively. He's the player the Warriors tend to want. Defensively, to date, he's not. But I think the thing that the Warriors are big on is like trying to find guys that maybe might be undervalued a little bit, right? Like I don't want to say he's undervalued. Like no one knows who he is, but like this is a guy who, when he was drafted, people thought he was like the next coming of something, and he clearly is not, right? Like he's just a good player. And that might be an opportunity for them. So I don't know. The only thing I can tell based off of leaks and everything going forward is feels like they're a little more aggressive than they've been in the past.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. I think that's if nothing else, like I'm interested to see where this lands.
You still got to pay him $100+ million though. Like he's not signing for $20 million a year, Porzingis, right? He's in the prime. Like I'd imagine he wants 30. I'd imagine he wants.
I don't know. Maybe you can retain him for what Wiggins got. Maybe that's that. Like these are all like if I told you re-signing him was in Wiggins' range, how would you feel? You'd be like, it's fine.
I mean, I mean, $27 million. I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. The Warriors stole Wiggins. I mean, I think he was fine with it. Wiggins was fine with it, but. Anyway, I'm in on that. I'm in on that move. I'm okaying that move. I'm greenlighting it. Now we just got to go tell Dunleavy and our guy's Dunkirk. We'll get this baby done.
Dunkirk? Yes, are we sticking with the Dunkirk nickname?
You said it first, dude. I'm going with it.
It's all mine. Dunkirk. Okay. All right. I say we end it here. We will be back. I think we'll do more episodes next week. Could be draft week. We got special guest coming on. We got a lot of stuff. Appreciate every one of you guys.
All right.